What is up, bodyweight exercise fans? In today's video, we're talking about optimal training frequency for muscle growth. In other words, how often do you have to train in order to gain more muscle and more strength? That B is getting in the way. Go away, B. So moving on. Based on current research, the minimum amount of times that you have to stimulate a muscle group per week is 2 times per week. Now, the way that this translates into bodyweight exercise, because as we've talked in the previous videos, with bodyweight exercise, the way that we structure our workouts and the way that we divide our body is into fundamental movement patterns. The way that translates into bodyweight exercise is that you want to hit each fundamental movement pattern at least 3 times per week. So, you have to do a pulling motion at least 3 times a week. You have to do a pushing motion at least 3 times a week, and a lower body dynamic exercise at least 3 times per week in order to see progress. A typical mistake I see, and this amazes me sometimes, even with bodyweight exercise trainees, is that the way that they structure their workouts is into the typical bro split. So, the bro split is basically when you train one muscle group per day. Like one day can be chest, Monday, for example, typical day. One day can be back, one day can be lower body, another day can be shoulders and abs, and that's the way that you structure a bro split. Now, the reason that this doesn't work is because you only stimulate a muscle group once per week. And this became popular back in the golden era of bodybuilding, like the 70s and 80s, because a lot of the people that developed these and the people and the magazines basically that were popular were basically talking to people that were on gear, or people that wanted to look like people that took gear, even though they didn't know that those people took gear. So people who took steroids, this worked for them, because here's what's happened. With the natural person, if you stimulate a muscle, you train it, let's say on Monday, and you don't train it again for more than 3 or 4 days, it's going to start going back to its original untrained state. So if you train chest on Monday and you don't train it again until next Monday, after Thursday or Wednesday, your muscles will start to go back to the original state that they were. They'll start to basically lose those adaptations that they gained from your workout. So steroids can extend that window, and that is why bro splits work for people who are on gear. And maybe can work a little bit for beginners, like when you're during your newbie era, when you're making newbie gains, anything works. It's easy to make progress with a small amount of work, or for people that are super blessed genetically. So in simple words, and putting this into practical application for bodyweight exercise, if you train a movement pattern at less than 3 times per week, once you're past your beginner phase, that won't be enough. That basically you won't have enough cumulative hypertrophical adaptation. Now, obviously, there are differences based if you're a beginner, as we said, an intermediate, and advanced. I said that 3 times are the minimum amount of times that you want to do a whole body workout that has like a pull, a push, and a lower body exercise. And that's pretty effective for beginners and intermediates, but as you advance, a better frequency that works is a 4-time frequency per week. So training 4 times per week. The reason for that is, first of all, you want to switch things up a little bit, as you become more advanced, in order to shock a little bit your body to keep on making progress. Your body always adapts to something and finds a way to do it in a more economical way. So that's number one. You want to shock a little your body, you want to switch things up. Number 2 is that training volume requirements increase. If you haven't watched my video on training volume, super important for muscle growth, especially with calisthenics, I'm going to link it above. And because training volume requirements increase, 4 times training per week is a better way basically to spread your training volume, so you don't have to stuff too many exercises in one workout. You can do a little bit of a shorter workout, but also more intense, and train the next day. You also recover better when you're more advanced. So 4 times work better, and when you're super advanced, there are periods that you're gonna need also 6 times per week training frequencies. Now, this doesn't mean that high frequency training can't work for beginners. As low as your training volume is ideal, is low, it's not as high as training volume that an advanced athlete would do. If you keep your sets balanced. The reason I mention this is because with some people, they prefer training more often. They prefer training, for example, from Monday till Friday. A lot of reasons for that. One is that a lot of us prefer having a fixed time that we train during the week. We like to have it as a habit, like brushing our teeth. We know that every morning I'm going to wake up, I'm going to brush my teeth at 8 o'clock, for example, and I'm going to train at 10 o'clock. This helps a lot of us be more disciplined and makes our workouts and our habits more automated. To summarize today's video, during your first 2 weeks when you're training as a beginner, 2 times are enough to see progress. Training 2 times per week. After that, you want to start training a little bit more consistently. 3 times per week will be pretty good to keep on seeing progress. As an intermediate, so if you've been training for more than 6 to 8 weeks, you can switch it up to from 3, anywhere between 3 and 4 times. And as an advanced trainee, I recommend training at least 4 times per week, and you can alter that with higher training volume and higher intensity periods where you train 6 times per week. Those are a little bit more complicated things that we'll talk about in future videos. But also, if you want to train more high frequency, even as a beginner and as an intermediate, if you want to train, you prefer like training every day from Monday to Friday or Saturday, you can also do that as long as your training volume is balanced. So to learn what is training volume and how many sets you have to do depending on your level, watch the previous video that I made. That was all for today. If you've seen, I've started basically putting labels on my videos with number of episodes. So today is, I believe, episode 11. This is the new video series that I've been making on bodyweight training and muscle growth. This way you can have everything structured. It's also in a playlist that I'm going to link above. To understand all these topics, it's good that to have seen each video of this video series. Follow me on Instagram as well for daily muscle building bodyweight exercise tips. And until next time, keep on training.